Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is the Kandy Technical Fireside Chat, and we're going to be talking about the advanced calling features today. Um, just to introduce myself, my name is Simon Legood. I'm the Senior Technical Trainer here at Kandy, and I'll be kind of walking you through the system today as we're going over these features. I also have Sarah Hughes on the line with us. She'll be helping out in the chat and answering any questions that you guys have. For this broadcast, we will have you guys muted for time purposes. We will be recording this session and also sharing it out via email after the session is completed. So just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of that, and then we will go ahead and get started. So in the session today, we are going to be covering the advanced calling features. More specifically, we're going to be going over authorization codes, how to set those up, how to get them working, account codes. We'll talk about short dial codes, intercom calling, and call grabber. So these are some of the features that are less known or less used. So we thought we'd kind of go over how they work and what they are. Before we get into the features, I also kind of wanted to point out these features are available on most of the packages that we provide to you guys. So what you'll notice here is I've given you the SKUs at the top of the chart here, and then the SKU name, the current SKU name. And I also went ahead and put in the old SKU name. I know some people may still kind of refer to the old SKU names. So those are both listed here. What you'll notice is account codes, authorization codes, intercom, point-to-point calling, short dial codes, and call grabber are available on all of the packages, standard or greater. The only exception is call grabber is not innately on the UC desktop package. But that's the only exception to the rule. Otherwise, they are available on all of them. The first thing that we wanted to go into was the authorization codes. This is actually a really cool feature. Essentially what this allows for you to do is to unblock outgoing calls. So if you're in a business and you're wanting to set it up so that during off hours or things of that nature, um, international long distance calls can't be made, with the exception of entering in an authorization code to make those calls. That's kind of the purpose of these authorization codes. In order to configure it, you're going to do that in the admin. We'll show you how to do that. But what will happen is you'll type in a VSC code. So in this case, it's going to be *11. They'll have an individual code that they'll type in, and then they can dial the international number. So it's going to be *11, their individual code, another star, and then the international number. And you can kind of see that here in the example. I've got *11, 4219 star, and then an international telephone number. So that 4219 would be that authorization code that's built into the system. In addition to that, we've also added in the ability to set up restrictions on holidays. So meaning that if it is that holiday, whether it's whatever holiday you've entered in the system, it would restrict international calls regardless of having an authorization code on those days. To get into the system, the first thing that you're going to want to do is add in it's KBS SCR-001. It's this admin SKU for authorization codes. Essentially what this code is going to allow you to do, you'll add it, it's one per customer, but you'll add in this SKU, and that's going to give you the ability to go in and start customizing your scheduled call restrictions. So once you've added that SKU to the customer, you should be able to go into fulfillment, and then under services, you'll see scheduled call restrictions. In that scheduled call restrictions, when you pull the screen up, this is kind of what it's going to look like. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a schedule. You can go through, you'll enable that schedule. Once you've got it enabled, you'll put in your business hours. And what this is saying is during these business hours, it's not going to require a code, but outside those business hours, you do need to type in the authorization code for these calls to go through. With the release that's coming this week, 53.2, we are also adding in the ability to set a lunch hour. So you can go and put your lunch start time and your lunch end time so that, again, during that lunch period, your calls are restricted as well.
And just to confirm as well, that sometimes this may be a little confusing for people, is that the authorization code schedule here means that only during these times will you be able to dial using the authorization code. Outside of that, you will not be able to dial international numbers. You see the call type there is international in there, so there's others as well. But it's very important. Outside of those time frames, you are not able to use authorization codes, and you're not able to dial that method of class of service.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, so first things first, and again, this screenshot was taken from the current release. Just keep in mind what you'll see over here once 53.2 goes live is the ability to customize your lunch schedule as well. What you're looking at here is just the schedule itself. You can go through and select your start time, your end time, and then like I said, once 53.2 goes live, you'll also have the ability to customize your lunch schedule as well. As we move over to the right-hand side, this is where you will input the authorization codes. So to input the authorization code, you'll start by clicking the little plus symbol in the top right of the authorization code list. You'll type in the value. So this is the authorization code that you want them to be able to dial. So keeping in mind it's *11 and then the authorization code and then a star. So in this example, I've typed in 4219 as the authorization code. I'll then click over on the right-hand side, the Add Authorization Code button, and then you'll see 4219 is now listed as an authorization code. Right now, currently in this screenshot, it does not have anything in the used by field. Once we go and add this authorization code to a particular subscriber, that's when that will show up. In addition, on the scheduled call restriction screen, what you'll also have the ability to do is restrict certain holidays. So again, these are days that calls or international calls would not be allowed. So all you'll do is you'll hit the plus symbol in the little bar. You'll type in the name of the holiday or whatever the reason is that you're restricting calls on that day. You'll select your start and end time, and then over on the right-hand side, you'll click the Add Holiday button, and then your holiday will show up in that list, and calls will not be permitted on those days. Once you've got all that configured, you go ahead and save everything over on the right-hand side of the screen. And then what you'll do is you'll navigate down into the subscriber that you're setting this up for. What you'll want to do is you'll notice there's two fields here. You'll have scheduled call restriction. You'll want to go ahead and enable that for this particular subscriber. And then a new field will pop up giving you the ability to select which authorization code they can use. So it'll just be a drop-down list of all the authorization codes that you've put into the system, and you'll want to go ahead and select which one is their particular code. Again, just keeping in mind, once you've selected all of this and made these modifications, you'll want to save the subscriber so that everything gets saved into the system and they can go ahead and start using these codes. Again, in this example, right, This subscriber would now dial *11, 4219 star, and then the international number that they would normally dial, and that would give them the ability to make that call. What I want to do now is just kind of pull up the admin. I want to go through it and show you how easy this is. So what you'll see is I'm already in fulfillment. I'm already in scheduled call restrictions. So I've already gone ahead. I've added in the SKU that's necessary to get all this working. But this is the screen itself. So what you can see here is you do have the ability to enable or disable the schedule. I can go through, I can choose from the drop down my start and end time for the day. So let's say on Mondays, maybe we don't start till 9 a.m. and perhaps we continue going until 5 p.m. It is using the 24-hour time just so that it's easier to understand AM versus PM and things of that nature. Once I'm happy with my schedule, I can come over here to the authorization code section. You'll see I've already got the 4219 selected in the system. If I wanted to add a new one, I can click the little plus symbol here on the right-hand side. I can type in my new value. Maybe I'm getting ready to assign one to Sarah, and I wanted to assign her, I don't know, 6243 is her authorization code. I can go ahead and click Save Schedule, or sorry, Add Authorization Code. And now you'll see I've got a new authorization code here. One thing I will point out in the bar here, you'll see it says remaining 18. By default, it does give you 20, so you can have up to 20. If you need more than that, let us know and we can kind of customize that for you guys. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have restricted holidays. So again, if I were to click the plus symbol there, I can add in Christmas Day as an example. I can choose my start and end date. So Christmas Day is December 25th. I'm going to say I want it to start at midnight, and I'm going to end it at, I'm actually going to go to December 26th at midnight, and then I'll add holiday over on the right-hand side of the screen. So now we have Christmas Day added. Like with any of these, if you check the box, you do get an option to remove the authorization code, or you can remove the holiday. You also have the ability to edit these things. Once you're happy with everything you've done here, again, save the schedule over on the right-hand side. Once that's been saved, it will tell you it can take up to 15 minutes to be reflected in the system. So just keep that in mind when you're going through. It does take a few seconds or a few minutes for everything to kind of get configured through and everything to be saved. What I would recommend doing is going ahead and making all the customizations here and then going into your subscribers and adding it all to the subscribers. And hopefully by the time you've got everything added on the subscribers and that 15-minute time will have passed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into the subscriber and I will show you what that looks like as well. So I'm just going into my phone line. Down here in the bottom left-hand corner under settings, you see I've got scheduled call restrictions. It's currently disabled. That is the default value. If I were to come down here and enable that, I get a new box up that says authorization code, and you'll see the two authorization codes that I've added into the system. So if I wanted mine to be 4219, I'd go ahead and select that, and then I can save the user. And that kind of covers everything that you need to know for authorization codes. Again, the idea behind this is that this would be a situation where you're trying to restrict, things like international calls or, any toll-based calling that you're trying to make. Perhaps you have shared workspaces or something of that nature, and you want to be able to make these international calls from every location, but you only want certain people to be able to do that. That's kind of the idea behind the authorization codes.
So we do have a couple of questions. One is, are the auth codes global, not per account? The answer is they are per customer. So you notice that Simon went in and incremented the inventory at the customer level for the scheduled call restriction SKU. And then at each individual user, you assign them. So that was the other one. Do you have to select on per user? Yes. In fact, if you were to go back and look at the codes again at the group level, okay, you're now able to see, well, in use by over on the right-hand side would show you who's.
I didn't save. Let me save real quick, and then you'll see it.
Yeah. So it is per user. Another question came in about, can a user remove themselves? No, this is admin. So this is not at the user level. You see where he is provisioning the user, enabling it for the user, and then selecting a code that was previously created. So users do not have the ability to make these changes. Here in the group level, you can see that it's assigned to this one person. And you also notice that you cannot remove that code. Notice it's grayed out next to 4219. As long as it's selected and assigned to a user, you cannot delete that code, but he could delete the 6243 number. And the authorization codes do show up in the call detail record. So you will be able to see that Susie Q dialed this number. And if you need to then charge it back to them or assign it to their department, something like that, you can do that. It is in the CDR records. Yes.
All right. Before we move on to the next one, let me go ahead and remove the authorization code. Were there any other questions? Or are we okay to move on, Sarah?
Keep going.
All right, perfect. All right, so the next one that we're going to look at is account codes. Now, account codes are very different from authorization codes. So account codes are, generally speaking, they're used for tracking, phone calls if you needed to bill them out to various end customers. So for example, if I'm at a law firm or something like that, and I bill my customer or my clients for, long distance telephone calls that I make on their behalf, or international calls I bill or on their behalf, account codes are going to be what you're going to want to use, so that again, in that CDR records, you have the ability of seeing the account code that was used, and you can then bill those calls back out to your clients. So let's kind of go through, we'll talk about what account codes are, the way they work. So once you've gone in, we'll talk about how to configure them. But the way that they work is you'll dial *01 plus the account code, and this is a customizable account code that you guys can set in the system, and then the telephone number that you're dialing. In the system itself, you're going to go to fulfillment and then account codes, and that's going to give you the ability to start adding in these groups. So again, first and foremost, you're going to go to fulfillment, you're going to go into account codes, you're going to click on the add group over on the right hand side. Once you're in that add group area, this is kind of what it's going to look like. It's going to give you the ability to add a name for this account code group, and that could be, whatever naming convention you want to use. The next part down, forced and verified, these two fields do have a lot of meaning behind them. So just to spend a couple of seconds kind of talking about what these fields are. So forced means that on every single telephone call, they are required to use an account code. Verified means that once they've typed in that account code, we verify it against a list that you've input into the system. So those two options can be set individually or together. So you've got quite a bit of flexibility here on how you would like for these codes to be entered. Once forced is enabled, you do have a manage exceptions section. So if you wanted to add in telephone numbers that did not require an account code to be set, maybe you have another branch office, or perhaps you wanted to add in your employees' mobile numbers to the exception list so that account codes were not required when dialing those. Or on the verified side of things, once you've typed or enabled verified, that's when you would go through and you would add in the codes that the system is verifying against. On the next slide, I've just got a quick matrix, so I'm not going to speak to every possible combination here. But so what we have across the top is forced, enabled versus disabled. And then on the left-hand side, we have the verified field as enabled or disabled. And this is just kind of showing you how that would work when you can kind of combine those various options. So if you have both forced, enabled and verified enabled, you're talking about a very strict call center where they always want every single telephone call that's placed is tied to a particular account, and we only want you to be able to make calls on accounts that we have put into the system. The reverse of that would be both of them disabled. This would be a situation where you need the ability to put in an account code, but not every single one of your calls is going to be billed to a particular account, or it could even, I keep saying billed to an account, but it could also be for like a sales campaign or something like that, where you're wanting to track what calls are done where. So when you've got both of these fields disabled, it would be a situation where you're not requiring it of your customers or your agents to be able to type in an account code, but they are there if they perhaps need to use them. And then in addition to that, once they do enter in an account code, it's not going to verify it against any list. They can add in whatever account code they would like, and it will go through without any problems. In both scenarios, in all four of these scenarios, the account code that gets entered does show up in the CDRs, so you would be able to track those as well. Just to show you in the admin where this is. So again, if we go into fulfillment, you have account codes. I'm already in the account codes area. You can see I've added in a Kandy training group. If I hadn't already added that, I could click add group and go through the process of adding this in. In this case, I'm just going to click into the existing group. This is the same screen you would get to by adding it. You would enter in a name. You have a drop down for forced. You have a drop down for verified. So these are just giving you the ability to make those customizations. If you enable forced, you have a manage exceptions. So I could come over here and say, for example, if we had another branch office or something like that, that they didn't need to an account code to be able to dial, I could type in that number. So let's just say it's 555-555-1234. So anytime that number gets dialed, it would not require an account code. That should go through without any issues. Same thing again, because I have verified enabled, I see manage codes over here on the right-hand side. So this is where I could come in and I could put in those various codes. So you can see I've already put one in, a customer number of 1234. If I wanted to, I could tie this to a sales campaign. I could tie it to a particular client that I'm working with. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of customize this in the system. In addition to that, what you'll see down at the bottom is a list of all of your subscribers in the system. So all I'd need to do is locate the particular subscriber, check the box for that particular subscriber saying they're a part of this account codes group, and then save the group over on the right-hand side. Sarah, did we have any questions about that?
No, I'll stop you if we do. Keep
All
going.
right, perfect. All right, so the next topic that we wanted to talk to is short dial codes. This is actually one of my favorite features in the system. Kind of a weird favorite, but it is one of my favorites. So short dial codes, they're an extremely useful way that you can kind of help your employees out when dialing certain people. So essentially what a short dial code is, it's a code that you're entering into the system, kind of like an extension or an alias that you're familiar with already. But essentially, what this is it's a short number that you're entering into the system that's going to route to an external telephone number. So some of the use cases for that would be things like perhaps you have a contractor that has a mobile device. They don't have a SIP device. They're not in the system as a subscriber. You could add them in as a short dial code so that your internal employees can still reach that person via a 4-digit extension or something of that nature. Another thing that I've seen is, if you're in a large office or something like that, and everybody needs to be able to reach the receptionist, you can enter in 0 as the receptionist short dial code, and then have that dial that particular subscriber, so that everybody can just pick up the phone, hit 0, and it dials down to the receptionist. The other thing that you can do that's a fairly common practice, if you've got multiple branches or something like that, and perhaps one branch isn't on the Kandy platform, you could actually set up extension to extension dialing using short dial codes to that other branch office. This is typically referred to as coordinated dialing. So in the system, we're going to go to fulfillment and then short dial codes to set this up. Once you're in the short dial codes, over on the right-hand side of the screen here, what you'll see is there's 2 different ways to add these in the system. It's commonly overlooked, but the plus symbol is going to give you the ability to add these individually, whereas the bulk add button is going to give you the ability to add an entire CSV file of these all at one time. So just depending on how many of these you need to set up, how many of these you need to add in the system, will kind of dictate which one of these 2 options you wanted to go with. For starts, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and click the little plus symbol, and we're going to add them individually. When you do go through and add them individually, it's going to give you 3 different fields to fill in. The first one's going to be the name. So this is, it could be a person's name, it could be, a branch office location, whatever you want to give the name to. You'll enter in the code that you want people to dial. So this would be the extension that you want them to be able to dial internally, and then what number that is actually going to dial in the system. One common thing here is when you're entering these numbers, you need to enter the number as it was being dialed on a telephone. So if you have to press 1 or if you have to press 9 to make an outbound call, all of those numbers or all of those digits would need to be entered in this number field as well. Once you've got all those fields filled in, you can go ahead and hit the check box over on the right-hand side of that, and then save in the actions menu. For bulk adding, I would recommend that you click the little help icon that's up in the top right-hand corner of the Kandy admin screen while you're on the short dial codes list. From there, what you'll see is this menu will pop down. Down towards the bottom of it, you're going to have the ability, it's first and foremost, it's going to give you all of the instructions that you need to do the bulk add. But then there's also a button that will give you the opportunity to download a sample CSV file. So you can download that, you can customize it, and then you can go through that bulk add process. If we look in the system itself, if I come over to fulfillment and then to short dial codes, you can see I've got a couple of short dial codes already entered in the system here. If I wanted to, I can go ahead and hit the plus symbol. I can add in a new one. Perhaps I want this one to go to Simon. I want it to be, let's do 6 threes. Let's do 4 threes. And then, whatever telephone number it is that I want dialed. So in this case, 1, because it's more than likely going to be a long distance telephone number. And then I would just type in the telephone number for that individual. Once you've typed that in, you'll hit the check mark and then save it. And now from the phone, that alias is already in use.
Yeah, so these are domain wide. They have to be, yeah, unique.
They absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll just customize it. I'll add a 4 at the end. Go ahead and save that. You'll see that the short dial code has been added in the system. And now anybody within Kandy, if they were to dial 33334, that would dial my cell phone directly. I am going to remove that from the system as well. All right, we shall continue on. All right, the next thing that we wanted to talk about is intercom calling. So intercom calling is kind of a cool feature that can get set up in the system for you. It does require a support ticket to be created. Once you've created that support ticket, you basically will want to let them know, hey, these are the people that need to be set up in an intercom calling group. And we'll get that configured on the back end for you, and then you'll be able to start using it. Essentially what intercom calling is it gives you the ability to dial *50 plus the alias of the person that you're trying to reach. When you do this, basically what it's telling the system is, I want to call this alias, but I want that phone to automatically answer the call on speakerphone. So essentially, if I were to dial *50 and then say Sarah's alias in this case, what you would see is it's going to automatically answer on her end, and it's going to be in speakerphone mode, so that I can, let her know that, her 3 o'clock's here, or hey, this thing's happening. A common use case would be, an office assistant and, the branch manager or something of that nature. So if the assistant is letting them know, they have a meeting coming in, or you have a call parked on this line, or whatever the case may be, they can quickly just chirp in on their phone and then let them know that they've got a call waiting. So again, to activate the feature once you've gone through the help desk process, it is *50 plus the alias, and then that will start working. So just kind of put in a example here. So *50, and then the extension of this person is 641-6413. So that's what you would enter in on the phone as you're trying to make this intercom calling work. And this could be set up as a speed dial, so you don't have to remember the *50 command. You would just enter that in as part of the speed dial. And then what's going to happen is on the other end, it's going to automatically answer that call in speakerphone mode, and then you could just start talking. So kind of a cool little feature. It is available. It's probably one of the less known features that is available. A couple things I will say about this is definitely check the supported device list. So one of the options in the supported device list is intercom point-to-point calling. So you will want to make sure that the device is capable of doing the intercom calling before you start going through the help desk processes of getting everything set up. But that is one of the fields in that supported device list on the partner portal. So you can certainly verify against that to make sure that your clients' phones are capable of doing this intercom calling.
And we can't stress enough, this is point to point. So it's not broadcast paging, it's just between two devices and it opens a channel.
Correct, correct. All right, so let's continue on. The next feature that we were going to look at is Call Grabber. So with Call Grabber, essentially what this is, it's the ability to move a telephone call seamlessly from either your soft phone or your desk phone over to your mobile device and vice versa. So if you're perhaps you're sitting at your desk, you're in the middle of a meeting or you're in the middle of a phone call, but you've got a sales meeting that you've got to leave for, you're just wrapping up your call, but it's still going to be a couple of minutes. Call Grabber would allow you to, from your mobile device, dial a Call Grabber number, and that's going to tell the system, hey, transfer. I'm going to use the word transfer. It is not a call transfer, but it's going to allow you to retrieve the call that is currently active on your desk phone on your mobile. It's going to be completely seamless from the far end party. They're never going to know that you've switched telephones. It happens seamlessly. There's no noises or chirps or anything like that. So you would then be now talking to them on your mobile device. You can go on with whatever it is that you need to do. Likewise, in the morning, maybe you're running a few minutes behind, you've started one of your meetings on your mobile device, but while you're on that call, you've arrived at your desk and you want to go ahead and retrieve that call on your desk phone or your SIP soft phone. All you would need to do on that device is dial *25, and what that will do is it will tell the system, hey, go out, look at my mobile phone. If there's an active call, drag that down to either, again, my soft phone or my desk phone that's set up with the Call Grabber functionality. So that's kind of the gist of how Call Grabber works. To configure it, there are a couple of steps that you'll want to do. In the end user portal is where we're at with this screenshot. The end user portal under services is how this gets configured. You'll see there is a field call grab number. So this is the 10-digit number for the mobile device or whatever phone you're retrieving the call from. You will want to type in this telephone number exactly how you would dial it from your desk phone. So if it's a long distance number, you'll need to dial the 1. If you have to dial 9 to make an outbound call, you'll want to add in that 9. And this is definitely one of those things that as you're going through that setup process, I would recommend testing to make sure that it is functioning the way that you would expect. So again, it's just the telephone number that you need to enter to dial that number or your mobile number from your desk phone. You'll enter that as the call grab number. Then what you're seeing over on the right-hand side, the Call Grabber access numbers. These are telephone numbers that you'll want to add into your favorites or into your contact list on your mobile device or whichever device you're pulling the call from. because these are the telephone numbers that you will actually dial from your mobile device to retrieve that call. You can see they are broken up by region, so just select whichever region makes the most sense for you. In my example, I'm located in the US, so I just chose this first option. I've gone ahead and put that into my cell phone as a contact. So now if I'm on my desk phone, what I can do is I can dial that number from my mobile device to retrieve my desk phone call. So the important thing to note here is that there's no clients that are involved. There's no specific apps or anything that need to be involved here. This is purely a feature within the system itself. So this is something that can be configured on any mobile device or any device. It's not something that's specific to any one client. What you'll also see is you do have the ability, so on your desk phone, if you go into the device key configuration or from the device itself, you add in a speed dial of *25 as the default VSC code. *25 as a speed dial, and then accept that. That way you've got a call grabber button on your device itself, so all you have to do is press that when you want to retrieve the call from your mobile device. And I keep saying mobile device, that's the most common scenario.
We do have a question, back up just a second, on intercom, about if you enable intercom on the phone itself, is that the same as putting in the help desk and having it enabled? The SIP line itself has to have it enabled. So even if you put it like device parameters and edit it and all that kind of stuff, you would still have to open a case with our support team and have it enabled. So it's not the same. It would be, allowing intercom to be dialed, but it still doesn't change the user side of it. As well, both account codes and authorization codes, even though we provision them, they still have to have, it has to be provisioned through our support organization to enable it for the line. So you still do for account codes and authorization codes, in addition to intercom, put in a case and have it enabled for these users. Doesn't take very long. But you can provision it all day long and it won't work until that's done.
Great point, great point. Yeah, and I apologize if I skipped over that. We did put that in bullet 3 here. So the intercom button would work in lieu of the *50 for intercom calling, but it does still need to be configured with the support organization.
And all support's going to do is enable it in the back end for the subscriber line. So creating speed dials and all that kind of stuff would still be your responsibility as a partner to do. Okay.
All right. So this last slide is just, again, it's going into those details about how call grabber works. So if you're making a call, or if the call is currently on your desk phone or your SIPs off phone, and you'd like to retrieve that call on your mobile device, on the device or on your mobile device itself, you'll go into your contacts or your favorites list. You'll dial that call grabber access code, and that will retrieve that call seamlessly from your SIP soft phone or your SIP device over to your mobile device. And then likewise, if you're currently on your mobile device and you would like to retrieve that call down to your desk phone or SIP soft phone, you can go ahead and dial that *25 and it on your desk phone or your SIP soft phone, and it will retrieve that call from the mobile network down to your desk phone as well. Just to kind of show you how this one works, I have set this one up as an option. So let me pull up my phone. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I am going to go into my contacts list here, and I'm going to go down to Sarah, and let's just say I want to go ahead and call Sarah. So Sarah has now answered her phone. What I can do on my desk phone, and it's going to be a little difficult for me to show you this while I'm on the phone itself. So I'm still active on my cell phone talking with Sarah, but what you'll see here is if on my desk phone, I've got a call grabber button, and I'm trying to zoom in so you can kind of see what that is. So down here, button 6, you'll see is my call grabber button. If I were to hit that call grabber button, oh no.
You have to start with a business line call, not just a cell to cell call. It has to be a Kandy call, not just a mobile call. So you can start it on your yeah, there you go.
All right, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and called Sarah here. Okay, so you can see.
We're not seeing it on your screen.
Sorry about that. All right, so I've got Sarah up on my desk phone. On my mobile device, if I again go into my contacts, this time I'm going to go to my C's.
Call grabber. Yep.
Did you see it? I had it in here.
Just go back to add the end user web portal and show them where the call grabber access numbers are, and then you can dial it there and you can create it as a favorite. Did you have it as a favorite on your?
I had it, yes. I don't know why it got removed. That's okay. I'll show you in the end user portal where to get the number. All right, so once you get to the end user portal, you'll go ahead and sign in. Under services, again, so the call grab number here, this is my cell phone number. This is the access code that you would dial from the cell phone. So once again, if I pull up my cell phone so you guys can see it, all I'm going to do from the keypad in this example is dial 191. 457-9604. And I'm going to dial that on my cell phone. And what you'll see, and it's a little difficult to tell, but I've actually now got Sarah, it's pulled that call from my desk phone to my mobile device. And you'll see that Sarah is in fact still busy. So I have a BLF on Sarah's line, but you can see there's no active call on my desk phone. That call is live on my cellular device.
But now you wait, put it back, and then you can move back.
Yep, so now what I can do is I can press the call grab button on my phone. It'll dial *25, and it's pulled Sarah's back down to my desk phone. So the call's active there, and you can see it says talking.
Great.
All right. So the last thing that we just kind of wanted to go through was some common support issues. So anytime you enter a number in the call grab or the short dial number fields, you definitely want to make sure that you're entering that telephone number as though you would normally dial it. So as an example, if you need to dial 1 before dialing the digits for the phone number, you need to do that. If you need to dial 9 to make an outbound call, again, you'll want to enter in that 9 before dialing the digits as well. We've talked about a lot of these VSC codes and things as we've been going through this session. I would definitely recommend that before you start using those VSC codes, just verify them the um, in the end user portal or in the Kandy admin to make sure that you are in fact using the correct VSC codes for your organization. And then again, we've listed it here for intercom point-to-point calling, but it's also for authorization codes and account codes. You definitely want to make sure that you do need to open up a support case to get those enabled on the back end so that you can start using those services as well.
Are there any more questions? If you guys will post them in the chat, then we'll get them answered for you.
And as you guys are adding in those questions, just to let you know, so we do have several webinars coming up, so you can find all of that information on kandy.io/events. The next Fireside Chat will be August 16th, and we will be covering SIP phone customizations on that call. So I'll be sending out information shortly on that, but the date will be August 16th for the next one.
And there's not any additional questions. So with that, I think we can call it a wrap.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll be posting this recording shortly.
Thanks.
Thanks.